À-bas-le-ciel.
I think those are all probably questions worth asking. Probably if some other person did that, showed up and said, hey, I really want to talk to Durianrider about the bad advice he's giving people to drop out of school, it's another issue. The bad impact he's having on people's lives. Leah Pramstall, she dropped out of high school to go to Chiang Mai and do that. Tess Begg dropped out of high school to do this. I don't approve of that. I don't. I really think there are moral issues there. I think Durianrider gave terrible advice to everybody, including Julia Bohr, this hilarious video where he tells Julia Bohr she can be an Olympic athlete. No, she can't. Don't tell her to drop out of school to be an Olympic athlete. Don't tell her to drop out of school to be an Instagram model or YouTube star. That is absolutely terrible advice. He's off camera, but he's laughing and smiling now. He knows just what I'm talking about. This guy.
Dr. Evil, Isel, Vinegar, me, a 40-year-old creeper, 6'5", 120 kilo guy. I didn't think this guy was such a scumbag, personally. I didn't think he was such a scumbag. So he's known for harassing women over social media. Isel's parents are multi-millionaires. Like, actually, he said they're not millionaires and he laughed. They're fucking multi-millionaires. Really pernicious, sneaky motherfucker. His parents are multi-millionaires. Or Dr. Evil probably spent it in KFC or hookers in Beijing. I would call his nature very predatory, and if it did go to court, I would be willing to testify.
À-bas-le-ciel.
So good question. This is basically asking, could this be turned around? Could this have a happy ending? Could we patch it up and move on? I'm going to answer both in the past tense and in the present tense. At that time, it was totally possible. Durianrider, 1 year ago, even if he had just had the boxing match with me, think about how much more positive the current situation would be. Because, it's hard to take that kind of things. Even if he was angry when he came to the boxing match, at the end of it, we both would have been laughing. You know what I mean? Like, any situation, it's so ridiculous. If he actually met me and had the boxing match, I'm sure he would have left with a smile on his face and it would be patched up and it'd be no big deal. If he had actually met me at the police station and pressed his criminal charges against me, I'm sure it would be patched up now. It'd be no big deal. If he had met me in a cafe, I don't know, 50-50 chance. But maybe it would have been patched up. Maybe we would have met in a cafe and he would have just screamed at me and wouldn't have listened. I don't know. In terms of his behavior, I don't know how that would have went. But sure, 1 year ago, I reached out positively to him. I reached out positively to Freely. I apologized to Freely. You know that. I made an apology video to Freely just because Harley asked me to, even though there were all the threats of violence. Sure, he totally could have taken responsibility for his actions and turned it around. There is no question. But that is not the game he plays. The game is that he wants to destroy people, And, today, what's possible? What positive can come out of it? I was just teaching class yesterday to children. 2 or 3 days before, I was teaching university-age students at the university. Like 1 year ago, I was applying for jobs teaching children in Japan. I work with children. I work with teenagers. Right now, I'm teaching, most of my students are about 20 years old at the university. Dude, this impacts my life, Like, this impacts my life. And, Vegan Ava was saying recently that when people call her a pedophile on the internet, she doesn't care. Well, I don't know, Ava, what ambitions do you have in life? You know what I mean? Now, again, Ava's situation is totally different from mine. There's no comparison. But, if I'm applying for jobs or I'm going through a custody battle for my own daughter right now, I'm in court trying to just have my human rights granted me for custody for my own daughter, or I'm applying for jobs in Japan and China, I work with children. I work with teenagers. All of these allegations, it's foul. It has real consequences. And it already has had real consequences in my life. In my personal life, in my professional life, this is going to impact the whole rest of my life. So when you look at it in that context, what can Durianrider do that's positive to make it better? There probably is an answer. But, it would be a big effort on his part, sure. Look, maybe leave the second question later, yeah, because that's a good question. Okay, so the question you just put to me is basically, is it possible that Durianrider sincerely believed the allegations he made against me, that this isn't just, an insincere attempt to, destroy my life? No, it's not possible. And there are two different angles. The first, I'm going to do the short one first. One, just go back and read the actual conversation he and I had via Facebook messages, which is posted in my video that has threats in the title. So Durianrider's threats in his own words, and you get to see that. Absolutely nothing he said and absolutely nothing he did at any point is consistent with somebody who was sincerely concerned, who was actually trying to establish the facts or actually trying to protect someone or what have you. Never. He never did or said anything that would be consistent with that. And if you look back at the beginning, the nature of the lies he was telling, they kept shifting. And they were just based on his own lies that he was making up. So that is one side of it, is just go back and look at what he actually said. And he also admits openly that he just had no information. He has comments, I've shown screenshots of this, where he just makes these allegations against me, and he says, but that's just my opinion. Or in some, he just says he made it up because of the way my face looks. That when he looks at my face, that's what he thinks about me. So he himself is admitting that's the truth. He said that like more than 10 times. He said, that's just my opinion, just looking at his face, that's the kind of guy I think he is, and that's it. So it's not really credible to say at any stage, but especially when you look back at the early stage when he was just making this stuff up and he hadn't rehearsed it 10 times, that this ever was based on something sincere. The other thing is, in terms of the secret origin of the conflict, a lot of people forget what happened at the very beginning. Okay, Julia Bohr, we have to give Julia Bohr credit with this. It is not her fault. Julia Bohr, she was a very colorful character. Julia Bohr said crazy stuff about me, suggesting that I work for the CIA, that I'm some kind of mysterious person. Same kind of stuff other people had said about me at the time. But Julia Bohr never once claimed or insinuated there was anything sexual between us. She never claimed there was anything inappropriate about the email between us. I mean, her own email was probably pretty inappropriate and what have you. Julia Bohr did not make any of this up, and we have to really give her credit for that. What actually happened was there was a third person in the triangle who was Lauren Kenzie. So Lauren, who used to be known as the Vegan Lass, she then became Lauren Phoenix. She now uses the name Lauren Kenzie. Lauren Kenzie briefly was friends with all of us. She was friends with Durianrider, with Julia, and with myself at the same time. And people very rarely ask me, people who ask, why did I send the first message to Julia? Just a positive message saying, oh, hey, I'm also going to Chiang Mai. What's up? There is an answer to that question. I've mentioned a couple videos. The answer is because Julia and Lauren used to hate each other. They hated each other really, really viciously and had videos shouting curse words at each other. And then Julia was reasonable. And she just decided to settle it and patch it up, and they became friends. They had this like mature conversation. So I was friends with Lauren, and Lauren was friends with Julia. And Julia had just proven that she could be like reasonable and mature and be like, oh, hey, like this is just YouTube. I don't really hate you, right? She had just done that with Lauren. And at that time, like I think it only lasted for like 3 weeks. But at that time, Lauren and Julia were friends. So Julia really was a friend of a friend. Lauren was my friend, and they had just patched it up. So it actually wasn't unreasonable for me to think, oh, well, look, if you can patch it up with Lauren, hey, I'm just going to give you a shout out and say, hey, I'm also going to be in Chiang Mai. Now, look, one thing to add on to that, if Julia had responded positively or neutrally, what would have happened? I can tell you exactly what would have happened. Julia would have come to the karaoke night I hosted. You remember I did a karaoke night? And we had about 12 people there. It wasn't a huge event. Julia could have just been at that event. She would have been one other vegan. She would have met 12 vegans. Would have had, we had conversations about stuff. There would have been absolutely nothing inappropriate. I mean, it just would have been another night she was in Thailand for months and months on vacation. She would have just come to that event. That would have been it. Like, nothing else would have. I would have just said, oh, okay. Like if she had written back in kind of a reasonable or neutral way, I would have just sent her an invitation when I was there saying, hey, look, I'm doing this karaoke night. If you want to come, you can meet a few other vegans who are on YouTube. Done. That's it. You know what I mean? There never was any possibility of anything else. The question was specifically, was there anything special about the message to Julia Bohr, or did I basically email like everybody in Chiang Mai? Yeah, the answer is I basically emailed everybody in Chiang Mai. Yeah. So no, it wasn't. It wasn't special, which also is weird. And I mean, Durianrider tried to blacken me with that too, saying like, oh, like this guy has contacted like 100 vegans. Like, yeah. I'm a vegan YouTuber, like, yeah, and in Facebook groups as well as email. I was just like, oh, hey, look, I'm in Chiang Mai. If you want to meet up, we're going to do this and that. And the karaoke night, as an example, that was open to absolutely everybody. That was announced on my YouTube channel and on Facebook and probably in an email sent to, I don't know, minimum 20 people. I don't know if I sent 50 people, but however many emails I had. So no, all that stuff was open to everybody. Yeah. No, Julia Bohr was never a special or important person to me, but we had a friend of a friend in common, and that was the situation. Yeah, and it's interesting to note. So, like other people like Foot Soldier, they try to criticize me for my failure to reach out and try to do something positive with vegans who are my enemies, so to speak. And on the contrary, the thing with Julia is an example of exactly that. They say, hey, this person, I'm going to reach out to them in a positive way, even though they apparently hate me. You know, just see what you can build on. And again, at that time, she was a friend of Lauren's. Lauren was a friend of mine. And Lauren was still talking to Durianrider directly. Okay? So that's why that happened at all. What happened next is that Lauren talked to Durianrider. And Durianrider took that as an excuse to start this incredible war against me. And for a long time, Lauren felt really guilty about it. She felt like the whole thing was her fault. And I've had to say to Lauren repeatedly, look, Lauren, Durianrider's reaction to this was completely unreasonable. It doesn't matter what you said to Durianrider. It doesn't justify or explain anything he did.
So this is a guy, in my opinion, who's psychotic and he just loves to get in and just be a shit cunt. A fat scamming hustler who stole $6,500 off his audience. The à-bas-le-ciel dude is just harassing chicks on Tumblr. You've got a lot of money, mummy and daddy's money. None of it's self-made, you just feed off people. His parents are multi-millionaires. In China, holding some weird microphone Apple thing, well, you've got a lot of money. You're a rich, spoiled brat. This is one sour motherfucker. You're so boring, no one wants to listen to you. We'll see that this à-bas-le-ciel guy has been harassing women over social media. à-bas-le-ciel is the kid, the rich, fat kid of parents from Lord Cultural Resource. What the fuck are you doing chasing teenage girls, hundreds of them, online? Son of multi-million dollar parents. You can imagine why he's in Asia. The mind can only wonder. Harassing them on Tumblr, and you've got a bloody daughter you're meant to look after, and you're not even paying child support, and you're taking your wife or something, apparently, allegedly what I hear, to court so you don't have to pay child support or whatever. Year-old 6'5", 120 kilo douchebag, creep bag. You've got so much money, man. You're like a multi-millionaire. Your parents are fucking bankrolling your lifestyle. Allegedly, and but it's all true because you speak to the ex-wife and you get all the deets. He is the rich kid living in Asia because for various reasons, you can imagine why a 40-year-old man is living in Asia. He's a multi-millionaire, trust fund kid, money from mummy and daddy, they're banked. Who doesn't pay child support, who's no longer allowed to see his child anymore. Motherfucker, look like art. You were in fucking China, man, and you're sitting on your fucking fat ass doing fuck all, and you're in fucking China, and the Yulin Dog Festival's going on, and you call yourself a fucking activist? You're a fucking pussy, man. Predator. Isel, super rich kid. We're talking millions of dollars. We're talking the big money here Isel has. He poses as this poor student. The only reason why he fled to China was that he had to pay child support. God knows what this multi-millionaire son gets up to in China. And probably my biggest hate at the moment, a jealous, fat, slob, bald head, creep looking, 6'5", 120 kilos, likes to email 16-year-old girls. He's got a kid he doesn't talk to. He moved to China because he refuses to pay child support to his kid. This guy's just taking the money, I mean. But you will notice in the latest video Angry Vegan did, where Angry Vegan interviewed Durianrider, he also names Lauren as the source of that, right? That he talked to, he says some girl named Lauren who was in Scotland talked to him. And that was his pretext or his excuse or his motivation for starting this. So no, it is not possible that Durianrider was sincerely responding to what Lauren said to him. Because again, Lauren and I were friends. I sent her a private video message at that time. We later did a podcast together. It is not humanly possible that Durianrider had the sincere delusion that I was romantically involved with both Lauren and Julia Bohr. When Julia was living in Germany, Lauren was living in Scotland, I was living in Victoria. None of us had any interest in each other. Julia was an ugly, stupid, foul-mouthed teenager who was extremely overweight, and Lauren was struggling with recovery from anorexia. She was underweight. She was extremely skinny.
And Durianrider's, don't forget, his original claim was that I was involved with both of them, which was completely impossible and completely laughable. And he later dropped the claim that I was somehow sexually involved with Lauren for no reason. I guess because he realized it made his whole story seem ridiculous and even more difficult to believe. But yeah, that was his original claim I came out with. He claimed I was involved with 2 underage women because Durianrider falsely assumed that Lauren, aka the vegan lass, that Lauren was also underage. And she's not. Lauren's a fully grown woman, but because she's so skinny, it's really hard to judge her age by her face. So the question you're asking boils down to, did I want to go to Chiang Mai uninvited in order to confront Harley and Durianrider? I think that kind of sums it up in one sentence. As someone who's not invited... Yeah, okay, well that would be a bit more grandiose. Okay, so the question boils down to, did I go to Chiang Mai with the intention of disrupting the festival or of confronting Harley and Durianrider or what have you as someone uninvited who's just in that same city? Okay. Now, I have answered this in other videos, especially getting into the technical details of exactly why I arrived when I did and why I left when I did. I had a job. I was enrolled in a university program. I was enrolled in a language program at a college, all this other stuff. But that's not really what this question is about. The question is about, in my heart of hearts, did I want to confront Durianrider and the scene, the social scene he's created in Chiang Mai? Did I want a kind of theater of ideas to unfold? I think would be the most charitable way to summarize this view of it. So that was asked to me in another conversation, a dialogue I did with Dumb Vegan, and we talked about that at some length. The first part of my response has to be is, other people have done that in the past, and if that were true of me, it's not really such a big deal. Brianna Jack Fruitson went 2 years in a row, not just uninvited, but do you remember this? Durianrider made videos slamming her, sledging her, to use Durianrider's views. Durianrider made a whole bunch of videos saying that Brianna Jack Fruitson was a terrible person, saying that she was secretly had anorexia and eating disorders, saying that she's not a real vegan, she's a fake vegan, and telling her not to come to the festival, and something terrible would happen to her if she came to the festival. And she went anyway, 2 years in a row. She went and confronted all the Chiang Mai people. And I think it did help her channel grow. I think she now has quite a big following, quite a big viewer base. So Brianna Jack Fruitson did that. She's not the most gangster YouTube channel out there. You know what I mean? She's not like some kind of tough guy. It wasn't that big a deal. Now, again, if you just look into it, if you just ask around, quite a few other people did that. People who were not supporters of Raw Till 4, who were not invited, but they showed up and talked to people. And I think Brianna actually went to festival events, which I never did. I never wanted to disrupt the festival. So that's kind of point one. With a lot of the allegations against me, I have to ask, well, if that were true, is that really such a bad thing? Or does that justify anything Durianrider's done against me? So if that were true, why are you saying this stuff about my mom? Why? Why aren't you treating me as a human being? If that were true, why are you saying this stuff about my daughter? About my divorce? Why? What? Any of it? You know, why are you saying that I'm a sexual predator? Why are you making these kinds of criminal allegations against me? It doesn't explain anything, if that were true. Now, as it happens, it's not true in my case. But I would say, I think if somebody else did that, if somebody else showed up and said, look, these are the issues I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about the future of the vegan movement. I'm passionate about the difference between pseudoscience and real science. I really care about the fact that Durianrider falsely claimed he cured Crohn's disease. I really care about the fact that Freely is publishing lies. And they have themselves defamed and slammed so many other people. How many channels, how many lives has Durianrider ruined, to be blunt? In Freely's case, it's a little bit less vile, but Freely had really denounced and defamed and sledged a whole bunch of people who are my friends. At that time, we already had the controversy between Freely and Aaron Janis. So many people. Pizzino, Henia, the list goes on and on. So many people they've attacked. Well, if I had showed up saying, let's just say it was Pizzino and Henia. Let's just say I showed up. I wanted to talk to Durianrider face to face. Say, hey, Pizzino's my friend. Why'd you do this to him? Let's say that was true. Does that make me a terrible person? Let's say I showed up and I was like, hey, you know what? I want to confront Durian. I want to ask him, hey, man, why are you lying that you cured Crohn's disease? Why are you lying about schizophrenia? Because I know people this is really impacted. I've had email from people and I've talked to people where your message has really impacted their lives. If I did that, does that make me a bad person or does that make me a good person? Right? Now, as I say, as it happens, It's not true. I did want to talk to you. I did want to meet face-to-face Leah Pramstaller, who was there. I did want to meet face-to-face a couple of other vegans who like me, who were fans of my channel at the time. I met Gaia. Gaia is now known as Henya's ex-girlfriend. A fascinating, really brilliant, an aspiring young vegan activist. I hope Gaia goes on to do positive things for the movement. I mean, just now, I met up with Dexter. Chiang Mai is a city. I never went to the festival. I never went to convert Durianrider. I never talked to them. I never made any attempt to contact Durianrider or Freely. So this was a conflict 100% created from Durianrider's side. But I just want to challenge the audience. If that were true, let's judge everyone fairly and equally. And, I think those are all probably questions worth asking. Probably if some other person did that, showed up and said, hey, I really want to talk to Durianrider about the bad advice he's giving people to drop out of school, it's another issue. The bad impact he's having on people's lives. Leah Pramstaller, she dropped out of high school to go to Chiang Mai and do that. Tess Begg dropped out of high school to do this. I don't approve of that. I don't. I really think there are moral issues there. I think Durianrider gave terrible advice to everybody, including Julia Bohr, this hilarious video where he tells Julia Bohr she can be an Olympic athlete. No, she can't. Don't tell her to drop out of school to be an Olympic athlete. Don't tell her to drop out of school to be an Instagram model or YouTube star. That is absolutely terrible advice. He's off camera, but he's laughing and smiling now. He knows just what I'm talking about. This guy. So sure, I mean, if someone did show up at the festival wanting to talk to Durianrider about any of those issues, I don't know. I think I would recognize that as a really positive thing and as a courageous thing and as something that's motivated positively by the future of the vegan movement. But keeping it all the way real, I was only in Chiang Mai for a couple days. I had to get my visa paperwork in order. I was already enrolled in lessons and starting a new job. So I didn't really want to deal with any of it. So hey, if anything, I would criticize myself because that's not what I did. We can talk about anything you want to talk about, So by the way, I do have videos about that. So there are a couple of issues. My change of name, I have a recent video that talks about that for, it's a long video. It talks about that in depth called My Nom de Guerre. So nom de guerre is a French phrase that we use in English. But that talks about the death of my father and my family situation. But I changed my name long, long ago. But look, the most obvious sign that Durianrider was lying about that, why does my ex-wife have the same name that I do? If I changed my name after we got divorced, why does she have the same name I do, right? So not only did I change my name long before that, but my ex-wife knew about it, and she wanted my current name also, right? So she's, her last name is still Mazar, M-A-Z-A-R-D. We use the same name. And my daughter's name is Mazar also. We all have the same name. So the idea that I changed my name afterwards must be a lie. My daughter and ex-wife would not have the same name as me as if that were true. So, otherwise, what do you want to know about the situation? I mean, it should be obvious to everyone that absolutely everything Durianrider is saying about this is a lie and is motivated by malice and is meant to harm me. Now, again, so like just said before, like if you actually have a conflict with somebody, whether it's about politics or weight loss, whatever the topic is, why are you trying to destroy their lives? Why is Durianrider talking about my divorce and the custody of my daughter at all? Why would he have anything to say about it, positive or negative? What does that have to do with, veganism or his false claims to have cured Crohn's disease? Like, that was our original dispute. The first video Durianrider ever made responding to me was about Crohn's disease. That's the first video he made directly responding to me. And he just defended his claim that he's actually cured an incurable disease by eating more bananas and sleeping better and exercising better. No, that is, I stand by my claim that is scientifically impossible and is untrue. Durianrider has not cured Crohn's disease. We could talk about that. We could have addressed and resolved that. Why are you bringing in my ex-wife and my daughter? Just why? But I mean, if you have any questions about it, this is the kind of topic where, like, I'm willing to talk about it openly. But most people, there's nothing they want to know. I mean, I'm divorced. I have a 4-year-old daughter. I've talked about it a lot on my channel. My ex-wife declared me in French missing without a trace. So that's the equivalent of being MIA in other countries, so missing in action, or of being legally dead. So I have the status in France as if I'm dead because, I have to choose my words carefully. My ex-wife filed paperwork insinuating that I had disappeared without a trace, that I was in effect dead or had disappeared, and there was no way to find me. There was no way to locate me. And during that whole period of time, we had email correspondence going back and forth. I have a YouTube channel, in case you haven't noticed. Anyone could have found me by putting my name into Google, but it's completely untrue, and it's even untrue. Like we didn't ever stop talking. So the reason why I haven't been able to see my daughter in the last couple of years is because I'm legally dead, to simplify. So that's a very, very nasty situation. Most Americans understand that, because under American law, that happens quite a lot. In the U.S., that's not that unusual for people to try to take away your property or take away your kids or do something bad to you by creating the illusion that you've died or disappeared legally. So that's still what's being addressed. I'm hoping that just within the next few weeks, I finally get a court ruling that will rectify that. But that's a very, very serious situation. And as far as I know, my ex-wife also will face criminal charges. So that short term, that's how she separated me from my daughter. But otherwise, I mean, look, I've written long blog entries talking about the marriage and how it ended. And I wrote those primarily so that my daughter herself could read them one day, could read about my divorce and know more about it. Why me and her mom broke up. None of it has ever been secret. If anything, like, I'm so willing to talk about it, most people find it boring. You know what I mean? And even other people who got in touch with me saying they want to do a podcast with me, they talk about it. Then it's like, oh, okay, so what do you want to know? And they kind of blank out and realize they don't really want to know anything. They just got this impression from Durianrider that it's somehow mysterious and secret, when nothing about it ever was mysterious or secret. You know what I mean? So yeah, I love my daughter. I miss my daughter. I've made many videos reflecting on that. And in terms of the legal process, I've 100% played by the book. I just got a lawyer and I'm going through the process, and that's it. There is nothing else I can do until the legal process itself proceeds in France. I'm somebody who has a long, deep involvement with Thailand. I was first going to Thailand, I think 2002 or 2003. I've studied the history of Thailand, the languages and politics of Thailand. I've really been engaged in a meaningful way with Thailand. And I also have a long history with long-distance cycling in Thailand. So I think I mentioned that to you in email or something. But like once I rode my bike from Vientiane, the capital city of Laos, all the way south to the border with Cambodia, so going across the Yisan Plateau. I once went west, trying to go all the way from Vientiane to Chiang Mai. I did not get that far for other reasons. I have a lot of anecdotes myself about long-distance cycling in Thailand. But when I did that, I was not on vacation. I was not just having a good time. I was not just trying to get laid or hanging out with other vegans, whatever you want to say. I was also doing humanitarian work. I was engaged in the politics and history, and above all, in the study of languages, and also in the study of Buddhism. I was going to Buddhist temples, studying. I was living a really meaningful life while I was in Thailand and doing long-distance cycling in Thailand. There's a big misconception. I heard a couple of YouTube channels saying this, that somehow like I just hate Chiang Mai or that I hate riding a bicycle in Chiang Mai. And my answer to that is like, well, no. I've said very nuanced things at quite some length about that, where my point is, look, going on vacation is okay. Fine. You want to go on a 2-week vacation or even a 2-month vacation. I've said that repeatedly. But I actually think it's really bad and dangerous to go on permanent vacation. And I myself, I've gone on vacation, you know what I mean? And I've gone on bike trips. Bike trip lasts a couple days or whatever. You challenge yourself. I used to do 115 kilometers a day. I have no problem with that. You know what I mean? Now, but if that really takes over your life in that way, where that's all you've got going on, yeah, I do think that's sick and sad and bad and dangerous. I would say the same about a lot of other hobbies. You know what I mean? If this is the only thing you've got, if all you do is play video games, if all you do is watch movies, or, with sports, if you're obsessed with football and that's really all your life, I do think that's a problem. And I think it's worthwhile to talk about that in an open way, especially given the background and the experience I've got. Now, like, beyond that, okay, cool. So just finish. But, like, if you ask me, like, have I ever called someone an idiot? Like, have I ever said, like, this person, who's riding their bicycle in Thailand is fucking wasting their life, is a terrible Sure. An example is, like, Vegan Ava. Like, can I say to you, like, wow, I feel really bad for calling Vegan Ava a fucking moron? No. And, you can go back and watch that video and watch it in context. And, like, for sure, like, I'm calling Vegan Ava a moron, but I also did reach out to Vegan Ava positively, even though she had defamed me and said terrible things about, both claiming, like, the court case was a scam, which it's not. You all know that now. And terrible things about my personal life, my private life. Same kind of stuff as Durianrider, claiming like I'm a wife beater and I'm a terrible person. And I still reached out to her. I was like, look, if you want to talk to me, I'm right here, same way I'm talking to you now. Like, we can talk about really, I can show you legal documents. We can actually move forward with this. You can stop slandering and defaming me. You can know what's really going on. So even somebody like that. But sure, like, have I called Vegan Ava an idiot? Yes, and it's still an amusing video, and that's not the deepest content on my channel, but I do have deep, meaningful content talking about what was going on in the Chiang Mai vegan scene and what my reservations are, and both the positive and the negative of it. But yeah, I don't think it's like a simple one-sided thing. It's not like I said everybody riding a bicycle in Chiang Mai is an idiot. Do I think Vegan Ava is an idiot? Yes, I do. And is Vegan Ava a white person in Chiang Mai on a bicycle? Yes. So, guilty as charged. I have definitely called some particular people on bicycles idiots. Another example, like Happy Healthy 96. I had videos way back, like more a year ago, really saying to her, look, I know you think this is a good move to drop out of university and go to Chiang Mai to ride a bicycle, but really think it through long term. So yeah, you know what I mean? Like, sure, there are particular people who are really saying, look, this is going to impact you for the rest of your life. You really got to think about it. But no, I don't think it's true that my position was ever like, everyone who rides a bicycle is an idiot. No. So, okay, so that's a great question. So I'll restate the question here. So the question was, did I paint everyone with the same brush, like everyone is Vegan Ava, like everyone wants to be on permanent vacation, like everyone just wants to make money on YouTube showing off this lifestyle in Chiang Mai? Or did I recognize that some people in Chiang Mai, part of the scene, were more intelligent than others? I've got a great example, a great counterexample of that, which is before any of the sex scandal broke, Hannah Chloe. So I knew Hannah Chloe for a couple of years just via Facebook messages, and I made a video that is confronting her, but I've talked to her about it. I've talked to her about it on Skype. I made a video where I was saying to Hannah Chloe, look, you're not this stupid. Stop pretending to be stupid to fit in with the Chiang Mai scene. But she made videos where she was really kind of imitating people like Freely and Happy Healthy 96. And I said, look, I've talked to you. I know you. She was in school and had a part-time job. So she was studying Thai in a university program. And I think she already has a master's degree. She was somebody who had intellectual interests. Like I'd interact with her, I'd talk to her. She was not the bimbo she was pretending to be. So that's a really interesting example of that, where it's not just that I'm not saying somebody's an idiot. Like I'm not calling her an idiot. I don't regard Hannah Chloe as being as stupid and worthless as Vegan Ava. But where I'm really pointing out, look, part of the problem here is that people like Hannah Chloe, even if they are intelligent, even if they have something positive going on in their lives, you wouldn't know it from their YouTube channel. She never once discussed like what it was like being in classes and learning Thai. She never once discussed her job, what was going on at the office. So for me, it's like, well, you're creating this illusion that you're on permanent vacation, as some of the other people are, but actually you have a lot more meaningful stuff going on. Actually, you're smarter than you appear to be. So that's also a really interesting example. So like if you ask, well, do I paint everyone with the sort of same brushstroke? Well, okay, look, hey, we got to ask the other side. How did those people paint me? I mean, they really misrepresent me in my life. You know about this, the Durianrider style lies and defamation. But not only do I not do that, I thought one of the interesting side effects was that even when people did have some real substance, they were kind of hiding it, just to try to be like Freely, For me, this is the real moral of the story with Sam. If you've got a problem with somebody, if you've got a disagreement with somebody, whether it's on YouTube or in the workplace or anything else, there's a difference between addressing that problem and trying to destroy their lives. And what Durianrider does is not addressing the problem. Like, okay, so there's a problem here. And this is basically about the ethics of bike racing. That's what the problem is. You can address that without trying to, make salacious claims about their sex life and their personal life and their drug use. I mean, because that's what I've seen from Harley. Everything he could possibly say to blacken this guy Sam's character, that's what he gets out. And he's done worse. I mean, both with me and with Jason Bazzino, he'll get your mom involved, get on the phone to your relatives. There is really no limit. He'll dox you, he'll try to expose public information about you. Doxing is violating most of the rules. So again, all right, so Sam fucked up. And to my impression, Sam has apologized for basically breaking the code of the road and breaking the ethics of bike racing, which, within the sport, I understand is taken seriously because bike racing is its own little demi-monde. Okay, but you can address that without trying to destroy somebody's life. And anything bad I did, like, look, if you watch more of my videos, there may be some stuff that offends you or upsets you. You know, if I say something you find offensive about Thailand or politics or about particular people on YouTube or something, it's possible. Most of the time when people actually watch my videos, they're shocked at how much less offensive they are. Like, I made a video recently about Sonia Elsie, who's, you know, a well-known vegan. And I think people just see the title and assume it's really offensive. But if you actually watch the video, what I have to say is not offensive. There's always kind of mismatched expectations that way. But like, dude, you can address that with me, or we can address it publicly. It can be a public YouTube debate or whatever, without taking it over those limits. There's just no reason. You know, addressing a problem is different from somebody trying to destroy somebody's life. And I think that's part of the sad context of this conversation we're having right now, is you're going to remain anonymous. We're not going to use your face or your name, because you know if you say or do anything that's critical of Durianrider, he's going to try to destroy your life. So look, I'm going to give you a shallow answer and a deep answer. The shallow answer is just, like, remember, I see Chiang Mai in the context of this whole part of Asia. And, like, one of the things I've said again and again is, look, if you're a young person who's trying to get out and see the world, there are, I think, other more important things to see even within Thailand than Chiang Mai. That's my honest opinion. Whether you're interested in cycling or veganism or Buddhism, you want to see Buddhist temples or the history or archaeology or museums, there is a lot worth seeing in Thailand. But in my honest opinion, none of it is in Chiang Mai. When I'm giving advice to people, including people going on long-distance bike trips, I talked to Dexter, and I was saying to Dexter, because I've done long-distance bike trips, like, okay, over here in Thailand, this is a beautiful area, this is an interesting area, you can see this museum, you can visit this ancient temple. So part of it just is, look, practical, down-to-earth advice. I don't want to glorify Chiang Mai, because in my opinion, there are better options even within Thailand, just to go as a tourist or to have a vegan festival. And there are better options than Asia as a whole, right? So, like, to give one example, many times I've said to people, the strongest vegan culture in Asia is in Taiwan. You know, you can also do long-distance cycling in Taiwan, by the way. They have a big culture for that. And there's an annual vegan festival that just happened about 1 week ago. I think the 12th to the 15th of this month. It's one of the biggest vegan festivals in the world. And unlike Durianrider's thing, it's a serious vegan festival, you know. And you have activists there and Buddhist religious organizations. You have a whole range of people coming together. So, you know, one of the shallow reason is, I want to talk about these things that we're not wasting our time and not making bad choices, right? Like, even if it's just, I'm talking to a friend or an acquaintance who's planning a trip to Thailand, it's like, well, yeah, you can go to Chiang Mai, but let's really look at what you're going to do in your limited time and money in Thailand. And the other hand, if we're looking at the whole world, a lot of these people, it's like, well, have you thought about going to see the pyramids in Egypt? Like, for the same amount of money, you might be able to do something really meaningful that's going to change your life. And have you thought about your own education and future and what you're learning? You know, I talk about that stuff to death on my channel. Because for me, I had all kinds of reasons to be in Thailand. I was studying Pali. I was studying Buddhism. I was studying the Pali, studying language. So I had reasons why Thailand was a rewarding place to be. But if you don't, then I think you got to think about that strategically. That's the shallow part of the answer. The deeper part of the answer is, I use these phrases on my channel like keeping it real. But I used to be a Buddhist. Why did I leave the Buddhist religion? Ultimately, it's because I do not want to be part of a religion that is built on a lie. I don't want to live a lie, period. And, you know, I don't want to lie about Thailand or Laos or Cambodia or any of these other things. No, I don't lie about, you know, I was involved with politics of First Nations people, the Cree and Ojibwe, the native people in Canada. I'm not, like, you know, okay, maybe I should make videos saying it's really wonderful to study the Cree language at First Nations University in Canada. Maybe that would boost it up. That's never been my approach. It's always been, look, I'm going to come out here and tell the truth. I don't want to be part of a religion that's based on a lie. You know, I was basically raised in left-wing politics, and I quit left-wing politics. I'm now kind of a moderate, pragmatic centrist or whatever. I don't want to be part of a political movement that's based on a lie. I think in a lot of ways, subtle and profound, as soon as you take that step into making basically propaganda, whether it's for a political cause or for a religious cause, or even just for tourism, then I think, you know, in a subtle and profound way, you're crossing the line into living a lie. It's kind of a long conversation to get into, but no, I really refuse to do that. And if, like, right now, if you want to ask me, I'm living in this gorgeous part of China. If you want to ask me what it's like here, I'm going to tell you about both the good and the bad of it. You know, like, there are ways in which it's just amazingly beautiful and wonderful here, but I'm not going to lie to you. And for that reason, the positive things I tell you, I think, should be more meaningful because it's in a context where it's like, look, I'm really keeping it real. I'm really going to give it to you raw. That's my honest answer to that. It's not the case that as a white person on the outside, you can just kind of buy an airplane ticket or buy a bus ticket and show up and make a positive difference. It normally does take years of engagement with the language. In Thailand, there's a language barrier, and making connections and knowing people politically. Unless you show up with millions of dollars to start your own foundation, that's a very, very difficult road to hoe. But so again, I'm keeping it real. I'm not going to tell you that it's really easy to make a positive difference. But I'll tell you one thing: it's easy to care. Caring and compassion will lead you to a kind of engagement where you really learn, where you start learning more and more. When I was living in Laos, just because I cared, I got into conversations with people about their experiences during the war, watching people getting blown to pieces by bombs. You learn about that side of their lives and who they are and what they're doing. And that kind of just caring, just being interested. And why did they tell me those stories? Because I was already knowledgeable, because I'd already done a lot of research. They wouldn't have told those stories to someone who was just an ignorant tourist who got off the train. But I mean, caring and compassion, I've said before, I think they're really most useful as a kind of research tool. Because you're caring, because you're compassionate, because you're engaged, that's going to lead you into situations where you're going to learn, and then eventually after that learning, you can make some kind of really meaningful, positive difference. But say, look, you can't just show up in New York City and help homeless people. You can try, but even in the West, it's not that easy to just show up as a tourist and get involved with something really meaningful and really positive. No, that's it. I'll close this up with my catchphrase. Either it's about the future of the vegan movement or it's not about anything at all. Ultimately, all this stuff matters to me because of the future of the vegan movement. And that's the question I think all of us are asking ourselves in ways both deep and shallow. The future of the vegan movement is not Freely. The future of the vegan movement is not Durianrider. And when I first said that 2 years ago, it was controversial. And now I don't think anyone would even disagree. 2 years ago, they were out here saying that they were the most effective vegan activists in the world and that this was the way forward for veganism. And there were guys like me who were critics of theirs saying, no, this is not the future of the vegan movement. We got to really think about strategy and tactics and politics and how we're going to move forward this movement. And even the people who hate me, all of you agree with me now. All of you know the future of the vegan movement is not Durianrider, and it's not Freely. And if you have your own YouTube channel, it's not going to be imitating Durianrider and Freely.
À-bas-le-ciel.